Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
LaFleur at the coach's breakfast with owners' meetings going on, talking a little bit with the media. A couple of nuggets so far from head coach Matt LaFleur, saying that Jordan Love did not need any procedures on his knee that was injured in the opener last season. That's according to our good buddy Rob Domofsky. And also saying that Jordan Morgan will compete with Rasheed Walker for the left tackle spots. So, and that was something that Brian Gutekunst also mentioned yesterday, that Jordan Morgan would be competing for the left tackle spot. Elton Jenkins is going to be confirmed. Elton Jenkins moving to center, which, again, we heard and such, so no big surprises there. But, you know, we'll see on the Jordan Morgan thing. I mean, does Jordan Morgan have a legit shot to beat out Walker? Yeah, maybe. Is he going to be the starting left tackle this year? I kind of still wonder. Is the quickest path maybe to beat out Sean Ryan at right guard? Or maybe it boils down to a couple things. Does Matt LaFleur, do the Packers feel like Sean Ryan or Rasheed Walker are better at their respective positions? Do they feel like Sean Ryan's better at right guard than Rasheed Walker is better at left tackle? Or do they feel Jordan Morgan's a better option at either one of those spots? So, I mean, that's going to be something to watch when we get to training camp and preseason and that. But some other things that Goody mentioned yesterday in talking to some of the local, or talking to the media a little bit. So he mentions not only the offensive line, but he talked about Jair Alexander. In a quote that he said, "We talk weekly about these things and working together on finding the best solution for everybody. We invested a lot in Jair and want to make sure if he's not going to be on our football team helping us win games, that we get something back for that investment. So we'll see where it goes. But again, working with him weekly and trying to figure out what's best for both Jair and the Packers." So he wouldn't rule out or completely close the door on Jair coming back to the Packers. However, if we're going to play a little translation game, or what does he really mean, or what is he really saying type of game here. I think when I hear that quote from Goody about Jair, that speaks, or that to me, he's looking for something and anything in return. He is asking teams, send me a draft pick, send me a day 3 pick. We want something. We're at this point, we're not just going to cut him. We will take anything. We will take a draft pick, whether it's a 7th rounder, whether it's a 6th rounder, or something. That's what I take away when I hear Goody again say, we've invested a lot in Jair, and we want to make sure if he's not going to be on our team, that we get something back for that investment. So while he wouldn't rule it out, I think ultimately Goody just wants to get a draft pick in return, wants to get something in return. And maybe playing a little hardball with some of these teams, because some teams are probably saying, we're not going to send you a pick. We feel pretty good about our chances of landing him in free agency. Or we'd rather take our chances in free agency and signing him there instead of sending you a round 6 pick or whatever the cost is that Goody's asking. Another quote from Goody yesterday, talking about the pass rushers, saying doesn't feel the need to, quote, go chase pass rushers, saying, quote, we can do everything we need to do from the players we have on our roster right now, because I think there's a significant amount of improvement from those guys, not only year 2 in the scheme, but individually. Translation, in my opinion, they've already got 4 first-round picks on the defensive line. And he's probably hoping and praying to St. Vince or somebody that they finally come through, that everything finally works together and it meshes well. They got a new defensive line coach coming in. They're putting a lot on him, obviously, right now. But when I see that, when I hear that, and not that long ago, a month and a half, 2 months ago, he can, he's sitting there 2 months ago saying, we got to be better production from our pass rush. We need to get there with 4. We need to do this. We need to do that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now it's like, I feel we don't need to go chase pass rushers. I feel like we could get all from our guys that we have on the roster. That just, to me, it's like, hey, Kenny Clark's a first rounder. My old boss drafted him. I drafted Rashawn in the first. I drafted Devontae White in the first. I drafted Lucas Van Ness in the first. We've got 4 first-round picks there. 3 of the 4 were my decisions, probably a big influence on the Kenny Clark one too. We're going to roll with that, and I'm hoping and praying that it works out. Because it costs a lot of money to go out there and get a pass rusher and to lock him up. It costs boatloads of cash. Right now, I ain't got it or I ain't spending it. That's what when he says, we don't have the need to go chase pass rushers. We can do everything we need to with the players that we have. While inside, I got to imagine he's like, please, for the love of all that is good, let these guys work out because I use first rounders on them and they need to work out. And part of me is like, oh boy, when it comes to mock draft season and that, or when we get to the draft, is he going to use a first-round pick on an edge rusher? I'm not trying to read too much into it, but man, it's tough. Speaking of which, let's do some Packers potential prospects. We're going to take a look at a couple of wide receivers here because we've spent a lot of time, right? We spent a lot of time on defensive players and that. I mean, we've touched on one wide receiver and such, but let's just kind of switch it up here a little bit because let's be real. Sometimes it just gets a little dull to always talk about defense. We want to talk about some offensive playmakers, right? And maybe, just maybe, Green Bay will use a first-round pick on a wide receiver, or maybe not. Or maybe it'll be an early day two, because that's what we're doing here with this prospect series. We're looking at potential picks that Green Bay could use for their final pick, or for their first-round pick, or maybe early day two. And let's start it off with Matthew Golden, wide receiver from the University of Texas. Now, if you look at a lot of the mock drafts, if that's something you pay attention to and such, you probably see him as the first or one of the first wide receivers being thrown out there as possibly even picked in this draft. So there's a chance he may not even be available when Green Bay picks in their current spot if they don't go up and move up. But when we look at what Daniel Jeremiah has to say about Matthew Golden. Golden has average size, but he plays with tremendous polish, instincts, and toughness. He spends a lot of time operating out of the slot. He can defeat press coverage with quickness or strength. He understands how to tempo routes and set up defenders down the field. He can change gears when the ball goes up, and he tracks it naturally. He does a nice job of staying grounded through the catch when working on crossers. He has the utmost confidence in his ball skills. After the catch, he is very strong, sturdy to pull through tackles, and he can make defenders miss in space. I love his temperament on the field. He plays with an edge. Overall, Golden doesn't have dynamic traits, but he's a natural football player and a quarterback's best friend. He's dependable. That's the word that jumps out to me in that whole write-up from Daniel Jeremiah. Dependable. Dependable. A quarterback's best friend. Because let's rewind it a little bit. What was been a big issue, or what was, maybe a concern that a lot of Packers fans had in the offseason? That's why they wanted a veteran wide receiver. You wanted a dependable receiver, a guy that you could go to when it's 3rd and 2 and you got to pick up this first down, or a 4th and 1 or a 4th and 2 and you know it's going to be a pass. You need that dependable receiver. So when you hear dependable, attached to a receiver or a quarterback's best friend, those jump out to you. And when you talk about average size, it's not, and he's 5'11", okay? Is he the tallest receiver in the league? No. But that doesn't mean he can't spend some time on the outside. Okay? He can still play a little bit on the outside. And the dude's got speed. So if Green Bay is looking for a receiver to kind of replace the speed that is gone because of Christian Watson's injury, Matthew Golden could do that. 4.29 40-yard dash with a 1.49 10-yard split. So you get your speed with Golden. The other receiver that I want to talk is a little bit of, you don't have to worry about height with Jaden Higgins and such. So, Jaden Higgins, when you look at what he brings to the table coming out of Iowa State, this is a bigger receiver. So if you want a big receiver for Green Bay, 6'4", 214 pounds. Here's your height if you're looking for that guy. Ran a 40-yard dash with a 4.47. And, obviously he's that big outside receiver with really good ball skills. Little bit of a limited route tree when I was reading some of the scouting reports that are out there on him, but he can operate on all 3 levels. And the biggest thing that I saw, kind of a common theme from a lot of scouts out there, is like, if he's put in that right scheme, he could be really effective in that. Well, I feel like that scheme is a scheme similar to what the Packers, to what Matt LaFleur runs. So again, when it comes to these wide receivers, and I know I keep bringing this up when we do talk about wide receivers and the potential needs, is what type of receiver, if Green Bay is looking for a receiver in this draft, what type of receiver are they looking for? Are they going to pigeonhole themselves into a certain type? Or are they just going to go with whoever's the best available and that fits within their offense? And I say that because you look at their current roster of receivers right now, and let's take Christian Watson off the depth chart because we don't know when he's going to be back. You're taking away your biggest receiver. Now you've got Dontavian Wicks, 6'1". You've got Romeo Doubs, 6 feet. Jaden, we know, is smaller. Hardman's smaller. Bo Melton's got some speed, but he's about 5'10", 5'11". So if, and I don't know if this is what Green Bay's thinking or Goody's thinking when it comes to addressing a wide receiver in this draft, are they looking for just those outside receivers that they can stretch the field with and take advantage against maybe some undersized corners? Because if that's the case, if they want a taller receiver where they could, a red zone type of threat, a jump ball type of receiver, Higgins fits that bill. Higgins also has spent some time on the inside. So then you're talking about potentially creating some mismatches by lining up a 6'4" receiver on the inside. Maybe lining up against a slot corner, a linebacker. And if you're Jordan Love and you see that you got your 6'4" receiver matched up on a 5'9" slot corner or a 6-foot linebacker, you're going to take that matchup every single day. But if Green Bay's not necessarily pigeonholing themselves to just saying, hey, we want a 6'2" or taller receiver, we want speed, or we just want the best available, And if Matthew Golden is there, Matthew Golden might be that pick. Not the tallest guy, 5'11", but that hasn't derailed Green Bay before. I believe Greg Jennings was 5'11". He was pretty successful during his time in Green Bay. But Golden also brings you that speed. And when it comes to guys coming from Texas and you talk about speed, they go hand in hand, at least for the last couple of years. So to me, the biggest question when it comes to these receivers in this draft, because you've got such a mix and match or different style clashes within this group. And it'll be very curious because I at this moment on April 1st, I feel like Green Bay is going to draft a receiver in the first 2 days, in the first couple of rounds. I believe that they will. Again, it is April Fool's, so I could easily be fooled on that, and maybe they don't, and maybe they wait till day 3, right? It's completely possible. But I do feel like at this point they will draft a receiver. Now, is it going to be a speedy, maybe a little bit smaller one? Or is it going to be, all right, a guy that's not going to necessarily outrun you, but he can outjump you? And then, we'll talk about this other receiver coming up probably in a future prospect one. But then you've got, Luther Burden from Missouri. 6 foot, a little over 200 pounds. So it'll be interesting to me when I see, or to see what Green Bay goes, what direction do they go? Do they try to find that tall receiver to replace Christian Watson? Or do they try to find that speed guy to maybe replace Christian Watson too? And somebody to just stretch that field. Do they want the height? Do they want the speed? Or do they want just dependable? Do they just want a great route runner? Because all these receivers in this draft bring something a little bit different to the table. And that's what's going to be kind of fascinating for me, is to see what direction they go. Because, yeah, I really do feel like they are going to address or get a wide receiver in the first couple days. And that's either round 1, 2, or 3. Couple more quotes here from Matt LaFleur as he's having some breakfast with some media members. Remember the quotes about remember Ben Johnson, his introductory press conference, when he kind of, I don't know if you want to say kind of took a shot. Yeah, he kind of took a shot to Matt LaFleur. When he said that, quote, beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. Remember when he mentioned that? Matt LaFleur kind of downplaying it, saying, quote, I'm sure he's playing to the fans a little bit. It sounds like, too, Matt LaFleur is not in favor of the tush push. I just saw that apparently Raheem Morris is against the tush push, and Matt LaFleur said, that's my guy. He's with me. There's more talk that this could actually maybe there's a language, maybe it's adjusted a little bit. But boy, there really seems to be a push to, maybe there's some stuff going on that this could get banned. Sean McVay just now apparently said, quote, I would be surprised if it does wind up being banned. I heard there was a heated argument. I don't believe in banning something because them in Buffalo do it better than anybody else. Some more quotes, though, going back to Matt LaFleur. And I know we mentioned a couple of them a little bit earlier, but just kind of catching up on some of the other stuff that he had to say so far this morning. He was asked about the prospect of Aaron Rodgers playing for the Vikings. Quote, it would be a hell of a story, wouldn't it? Well, yes, it would be a hell of a story, Matt LaFleur. Absolutely. But That's actually going to come up in my grind my gears here in a little bit. Just a little bit of a tease. So, but back to the tush push. Why Matt LaFleur is against it. When you look at the play, it's more of a rugby play. It's not really a football play. He did acknowledge that the Packers ran it with Tucker Kraft, but that his offense would adjust if proposal to ban the tush push is in fact passed. So I feel like it's not going to be banned. I do feel like we're going to see some sort of language added to it, or some, how do I want to say this, verbiage, or they're going to do something to it, alter it a little bit. They may say, I'm just going to throw something out there. Well, no more than one person behind the player pushing him or something. I feel like they're going to do some sort of thing with it, but not completely ban it. I think there might be a little bit of a compromise between the two. Again, I could be completely wrong, but that's kind of the trend or the direction that I feel like it's going. So